Hi everyone, it's Nicki from Boldbirthing. I was just having a little bit of a sort out of things as I am now 20 weeks with baby number 2, and I just thought, you know what, I'm going to dig out all the things that I used for Teddy, for my first one, for my anything to help with my healing, basically, for afterwards. And it was things that I picked up before Teddy was here, but then there was also stuff in a very much I need some extra support right now. And I think that's when we decided to sign up to Amazon Prime to get same-day delivery, which I think is a parent's best friend in some places. And you know what, yeah, I've got it all out, and I just thought, well, actually I might as well share it with you and see if any of it helps, or if you think, oh, actually that's something I haven't thought of before. Just to start off with, because this is the sort of thing that I had when I was still pregnant or even in labour, when I went to the NEC baby show, obviously a good few years ago, I picked up this little kit, and it was actually just really cute. I think it was just a really handy little thing where there was like a little pulse points thing, so a little thing that you can just like rub on your wrists, and it was anything to do with like to help just try and get a good night's sleep before the little one was here, because I think as you get bigger, as you get heavier, the simplest of things like having a nice night's sleep can actually be quite tricky. So we had one of those, and it, like I say, it was just a cute kit. There's a massage oil in there. I don't think I got round to using it, but I think this time I will be badgering the husbands to say, come on, let's use some of this one. There's a relaxing bath oil as well. I mean, all these things, they were specifically created for like 34 weeks plus, because I think it's like full on aromatherapy. Sometimes that can, you know, depending on the little mixtures, it can help bring on labour maybe a little bit prematurely. So that's why these have been mixed in a very special way. Now this particular one here as well, down below, if it's something that you've been thinking about for perineal massage, this was an oil that was specifically for that. You don't have to go out and buy a special, potentially expensive perineal massage oil. You can just use a simple olive oil if it's something that obviously you want to do. The reason why I didn't probably use olive oil is, well, I was thinking that I cook with olive oil probably quite a lot, and I didn't necessarily want to associate me cooking with olive oil with my my perineum. So I just thought, well, actually I'll just get something separate, then I'm not sort of anchoring those feelings. After Teddy had been born, I think this is something I bought before because someone recommended it. It's just a really simple, lovely, inflatable rubber ring. Very nice. And again, just because if you have a vaginal birth, you know, you can be a little bit swollen, you just be a little bit tender in that area for, you know, even a good week afterwards, maybe a couple of weeks. So actually having something soft so you don't have that pressure on that area, so that's why you've got the hole in the centre, can just actually be really useful. And yeah, I had it in the car, I just had it on the sofa when I was chilling out, you know, and everything like that. So that was really handy, and I think that was literally a couple of quid off eBay, nothing major. In terms of that promoting healing area, because I did have a couple of stitches, and I think I was very conscious about keeping that area clean as well, but obviously again I was very conscious of the fact that there were stitches there, and I didn't really want to aggravate them in any way, shape or form. So I actually ended up, this was a little bit later because it was really quite tender after a while, that a sitz bath was recommended. Now, if you haven't heard of a sitz bath, this thing is actually amazing, and I think it was possibly my best friend for quite a while. So this just sits on top of the toilet like that, just any toilet sort of fits on. Again, I think this was an Amazon purchase, and you just fill it with like lukewarm water, just enough so that when you sit on it, your nether regions are basically just sitting really comfortably, just soaking in that nice warm water with nothing in it, just warm water. And that was so lovely. That was actually really relaxing and very soothing. And you just sit there for like 10-15 minutes until the water cools, basically, or basically when your body matches the temperature of the water. And if you could do that every day, oh my goodness, yeah, it was just revitalizing. Now we've got a lovely local lady, Jo Farron, who is a herbalist as well, and she creates this wonderful postpartum bath soak. And yeah, and I've absolutely got a bag ready for next time as well. This stuff is great because even for when you have a C-section, once your incision has healed, you can put a good few scoopfuls of this, and you get it in a little muslin bag, and you just sort of leave it in your bath and you let it all soak and everything for a few minutes before you then get in. And yeah, again, it's just a really nice way of just getting nice and relaxed in a bath and just giving yourself a bit of extra time to just give yourself that healing time, which I know can be really tricky, especially for your firstborn, when you are really thinking, well, you're so focused on your baby. You know, you are very much a very secondary, third, fourth, last thing on your mind sometimes can actually just be looking after yourself. And that's why, to be honest, I could go, it sounds disgusting, but I could go a good week without even having a shower, but also not realising it because I'm just so focused on them. And yeah, and I don't know if you know, but after giving birth, again, vaginally or C-section, you will have a bleed afterwards. So it's almost like just like a really heavy period. And for me, that lasted about 5 weeks, I think it was, with Teddy. So, and those first couple of weeks, you know, it really was quite heavy. I had these sorts of things. I bought some just like reusable maternity pads. These are and these are actually from the company Cheeky Wipes. I don't know if anybody's heard of them. These were actually great. They were really, really good. However, depending on how heavy your bleed was, I mean, mine was quite heavy. They weren't particularly suitable for, say, like those, maybe the first week, maybe the first 2 weeks. So I did just get disposable, I suppose, I think they were like incontinence pants actually, but they were amazing. They were just so good. They were really absorbent, and yeah, they just did a fab job. So actually I bought those for probably the first couple of weeks just to get me through that, and then as it got a bit lighter, those reusable pads were just great. Something else, you may or may not have heard of this one, Spritz for Bits. This is great as well. This is just a really nice mix of ointments and things to, again, just really promote that healing and just keep everything a bit soothed in that area. What you would ideally want to be doing is you would want to spritz this onto maybe even like one of your maternity pads or something, or a cloth or a flannel, anything you want, and just to have it there sort of in your pants just for that sort of a few minutes. Obviously these things come with like full directions as well. You can apply it directly to the, you know, to the area as well after childbirth, but to be honest, yeah, just spraying it on a tissue or a wipe can be, you know, just as successful, just as useful. What else have we got here? I mean, this is just another one. I've probably gone through so many different versions of stretch mark oil spray. To be honest, Boots Own have been amazing. I'm not doing this as like a promotional video or anything. I'm just saying, like, this is really useful. It's, you know, it doesn't leave any like oily residue. It doesn't feel like my clothes have stuck to it or anything like that. It almost like, it's so absorbent, it just goes in straight away. And to date I haven't had any stretch marks, so that's been really cool. Then moving on to boobies. So again, I found these really useful. If you're breastfeeding, if you're not breastfeeding, it can just be really useful to make sure that you've just got some nipple pads ready to go, whether they're disposable or not. Again, I just use reusable ones. In fact, I think these were given to me, which were fab, and I was I think especially after when that milk comes in, and your breasts can become very full, and it's something called engorged, and they can feel actually quite painful. And that was a little bit of I suppose a little bit of a shock to me, because nobody had told me that. You know, I really didn't know that my breasts could feel so full that they were almost rock hard and everything like that. And it actually then made feeding really quite difficult for Teddy, because your breast is so full and your nipple is kind of like pressed up right up against it, they can't really latch on too easily. So you want to try and release some of that milk so that they can then get on and feed. So we got a very last minute purchase of, I think we got a manual breast pump at the time, which I think, you know, it works just fine, just to, you know, to alleviate some of that pressure. And in fact, I seem to remember that I had Teddy, I managed to latch him onto one, and then my husband, bless him, he was using the manual pump and he was milking the other breast just to sort of really alleviate that pressure. So I think even if you just have a manual one ready and raring to go, it can just be really useful. And I think you can pick them up for like 15 quid, maybe less than that. And yeah, and then after that we then moved on to an electric battery pump. So I just ended up getting the Medela one here, and yeah, again, seems to be totally fine. It's the sort of thing, it really is, whether it's something that you want to be doing, what you prefer. I mean, even if you go by recommendations of other people, it really is down to you and the sort of thing that likes and feels right and actually feels comfortable for you. Nipple creams, nipple balms as well, that's really useful. So if your nipples become a little bit sore, there are also things that you can buy. I never got them in the end. I think I just well, unfortunately I didn't find out about them until much later, but they're actually nipple shields that you can buy, and they're just like silicone shields. I think again you can just pick a set of those up from Boots if you need to, and they literally just pop on, and it will just help, like if your nipples are sore and your baby's still feeding, they can be great as well, just to give you that little bit of added comfort and protection from those guzzling little monsters that we have. So what else have I got? Yeah, a couple of compresses as well. So again, if you've got like very sore, like cracked nipples, I never use these in the end, but it's good just to have these in stock just in case you need a little bit of extra help at any stage or another. And they're just like a cold compress basically that you can put on there. Another note actually for engorged breasts, if you do get them, is actually, and if you don't have a breast pump, or for some reason if something isn't working, if you have a nice like lukewarm shower, you can probably just massage the breast, and actually some of that milk will release and come out as well. So that can be really just a really quick fix of things as well. In terms of myself, for again sort of keeping my nether regions clean, I ended up getting, so when I was talking about cheeky wipes before for the maternity pads, I also bought them for as sort of alternatives to baby wipes. So again, it's just like washable flannels really, and there's a whole kit that you get from Cheeky Wipes, which I thought was really cool. And I think I had one for upstairs and downstairs, like you do, because you get through them quick enough. And yeah, you just have these they're like little bamboo cloths, little flannels, and you can chuck them all in the wash together. The kits that you get, so again, this is great for like newborns, because it's basically just like a flannel with water, and you can make these yourself as well if you don't want to go out and buy the kits. I don't think it was particularly cheap, but again, I think this was gifted, which was lovely. And you get a kit, so you have a box for your fresh ones, so all your clean ones. I don't know if you can see that right there, fresh. And you would get an oil, so this is sort of a lavender, a chamomile oil that goes in there. You fill it up with your cold water, and you just literally put a couple of drops in, and it's great. So obviously those are really soothing and moisturizing, which is great. Then once they are dirty, they go into the mucky box, and that has a different oil, which is the tea tree and lemon scented tea tree oil. So yeah, that's just another blend, and again, you just chuck in a few drops of that from the beginning. But when you have a newborn, like I say, do not use any of the oil in your fresh box, and I don't think you do that for a fair few weeks. Off the top of my head, to be honest, I can't remember how long for, but like I say, you just want that water. But in the mucky ones, you can use the tea tree, because basically it then comes out in a really big old bag, and all of those flannels just are all bagged together, so you don't have to touch them or anything afterwards, and you just chuck the whole bag into the washing machine. Job done. I found it really easy. But likewise, that's a baby aside, that was actually really handy for me as well. I think, again, because I had the stitches and everything, and I was very conscious that any time I went to the toilet, I thought, actually, it would just be nice to have something a little bit softer and a little bit more soothing than just using toilet paper, basically. So yeah, so that was very handy. On the time, like I say, I'll be getting those out again. The video wouldn't be right probably without me talking about food at some stage or another. So we ended up doing a lot of bulk cooking. I think we ended up having about maybe 3 months worth of food just for the two of us, or me and my husband. At least a couple of meals a day, and it was just one of those things where we wanted to make sure that we were eating healthily, or as healthily as we could, rather than just, obviously we had our emergency food like the pizzas and stuff, but rather than just having a pizza every day for so it's ready in 15 minutes so we can just stuff our faces, we wanted to just have something a little bit more. And yeah, so I mean, I've got this book here, which again was recommended to me. It was literally just a freezer batch cooking book. I think it's very American, but yeah, it's like, don't panic, dinner's in the freezer. And actually it turned out to be just a really handy book for anything that you're thinking, right, so I need like 15-20 servings of something. And yeah, and it was, yeah, really, really handy. Unfortunately, there's no pictures, which is a shame in a cookbook, because I think every cookbook should have lovely pictures with everything, but it was just a very practical book. Pièce de résistance. Travel cup. If you actually want to have a hot to warm cup of tea or even coffee, then if you don't have one of these already, add it to your baby list and see how many people can get you one, because actually sometimes all you need in a day, if you're really typically British, it's just a lovely warm hot cup of tea. And and that can really sort of help blow any troubles that you might have away. So sometimes, again, it took me a long time to catch on to that one. I lost count of how many cold cups of tea I had, or if I'd microwaved it 4 times before I remembered it, I'd actually got it out and get it in there. But yeah, so that's why that was quite a handy one as well. And actually, that is pretty much it for the moment. If I think of anything else, obviously I'll probably stick it in the comments of the video that I'm creating at the moment. But also there were just a couple more things that I wanted to add to this video, so I've done that as a little bit of a PS add-ons as well. So see what they say. I know it's a bit of an obvious one, but just getting out and a little bit of exercise, even if it's just 10 minutes, taking your little one out for a little walk. If you're a crazy animal person like me, you might have a couple of furry things like this kicking around, who will always be happy for a cuddle of sorts. But yeah, I cannot even begin to explain that even in all weathers, wind, rain, shine, got to do it. It just makes such a difference to your day, just getting out for a little while, just for your mental health, your sanity, everything. So yeah, can't recommend that one enough as well. I should probably take a tip out of my own book for that one, but yeah, really should try and do it, especially in those early days. Really gets the blood flowing and everything. So yeah, exercise. I cannot even stress how important it is to have a support network. It really does take a village to look after your kids, and you'll be very well placed if you have some awesome friends kicking around to help you with all sorts